So my name is Alex Shepley. I look after channel alliances for Digital Realty, UK and Ireland. I'm delighted that I'm joined by Darren Chan, who's our principal networking architect. So I'm going to just top and tail this and give you a rough idea of what we're going to talk about. Darren is going to do the intellectual bit. So I've lowered the IQ up here, but he's going to increase it quite dramatically. And you're a very technical audience, so I'm going to get to it quite quickly. So quick show of hands, just for our gratification, who has heard of Digital Realty before? Wow, okay, that's a very pleasant surprise. Interaction? Fabulous. Well, there you go. We can skip the first part then. So Digital Realty is an organisation, circa 44 billion market cap. We're over 330 data centres globally. We were actually born over in the US because we owned some physical land and someone tried to buy it from us. And we said, what are you buying it for? And they went, well, we want to build a data centre on it. Well, does that make money? I went, yeah, pretty much. Great, we'll build lots of them then. And so that's where we were born. And as we've grown, we've done it by acquisition. So Interaction in Europe was retail colo, but in the US we did what we call a scale business. So your Microsofts and your Amazons and your Googles, where they want to take the whole shed from us, and then we deliver that back as a service. But I think it's really important when giving the context of what digital is to identify what we don't do as well as what we do. So digital as a business, we are space, power, cooling and connectivity. We don't do bare metal. We don't go up the stack. And actually what's really nice here for us today is that so many of you are, one, customers, and you've heard of us, and two, there's lots of partners, and you build your businesses in our sheds. You know, I think actually a lot of you do from a networking perspective, or, you know, there's MSPs and service providers where we want to enable you guys to grow. So that's, you know, gives you a bit of a whistle-stop tour. We're going to talk a little bit about AI today, as you might imagine, being in the data center space. That's fairly relevant at the moment, but more particularly around the connectivity that's going to enable your customers to do it effectively, because there's a lot of hype around it, and people are quite flippant with comments about how they're actually going to deliver it and how they're going to do it. Easier said than done, but there are steps in place that we're helping, you know, customers actually execute on the vision. So, yeah, broad strokes, over 5,000 customers, 330 facilities covering the map. Actually, we've grown so quickly in many places, it's had to be a joint venture. And as lots of folks have talked to us today about, power is a big issue. So there are certain areas of the world that are either full or there is no power. But one of the things that customers look to us, broadly speaking, is to help them grow into new markets and to give global presence. And I think as older facilities which aren't physically able to handle the new kit, the new generation of kit, as a really expensive endeavour to bring that site up in order to be able to deliver that. So hopefully this gives you a bit of an idea where we are and where we're going. And this lovely illustration is actually the cabling. So it's the networking, it's the undersea cables and the connectivity between our data centers. And networking is usually an area which customers talk to us about first. So hopefully in this room it's extremely relevant, because if you lead with that, then the actual physical location will follow. So I'm going to quickly cover this before I hand over to Darren to do the networking, and it's a sustainability pitch. Why it matters to us is because in the not too distant future, PUE figures are going to have to be publicly broadcast. So for your customers, if you are in an inefficient building, it's actually going to cost them money. And so as we are trying to bring our sites up to scratch, each one of our sites has an ambassador whose job it is to make the facility as efficient as possible. But even here in London, you know, case in point, there's a couple of exciting projects. Our Cloud House data center is actually cooled by the dock water, and it's an amazing place. You know, we welcome any customers of ours and any partners of ours to take your customers round, but the water is pumped in from 8 meters deep, and it's summer to winter, the temperature variance is only 3 degrees. But it's, you know, these are the sort of programs and the investment that we need to make this whole game sustainable, and our industry is under a lot of pressure to do it and to illustrate. And in our Woking facility, we've just signed off the order for 1.4 megawatts of solar power. And Woking isn't exactly famous for its weather. But nonetheless, it's going to make a demonstrable difference to our customers, and for us as a sustainability proposition, I think that really does matter. In Vienna, we actually heat a hospital with excess energy, which is quite fun. And in one of our London boroughs here, we're in the throes of agreeing with a local authority that the excess heat is going to be pumped into blocks of flats to heat people's homes. So I think what's quite exciting about that is we can be seen as a force for good. And for you guys in the room, where you're leveraging us for bits and pieces, and what Darren's going to talk about, the networking, please don't forget that's incredibly relevant. So I think as we begin to expand across the globe, the networking is front and center of that conversation. So I'm going to hand over to Darren, who's going to talk a little bit about the history of cloud, where we are with it, and the investments that we're making across the globe.
Thank you so much, Alex. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? If you don't understand my English, forgive my Japanese. His English is certainly better, but I'm actually originally from Malaysia. I've been to London for 2 decades. So these are the data centers that we recently opened. The latest one that we opened is in Shanghai, which is 100 megawatt data centers. So just want to talk a little bit history about cloud. So in cloud, in the year of 2010, hyperscaler starts effectively providing software as a service, platform as a service, such as Office 365. And in the evolution of cloud in 2015, we start seeing that it's much more in a hybrid model by company going through digital transformation, removing Microsoft Exchange on-prem into just a hosted environment, save engineers a lot of time if there's any problems with the servers and so on. Now in 2020, we see the acceleration of artificial intelligence. And those are the really beginning of the model of artificial intelligence where hyperscaler as well as the big enterprises actually invest a lot of money to start to train their model. I think most of them can't really get their money back. However, they develop a really, really good model that most of the companies can start utilizing it, start using a public model, and then do it on the private AI stuff. So we talk about Q1 2023. We start to see that Amazon, Microsoft, OpenAI, such as ChatGPT, that launch within a week, you got more than 100 million subscribers. And this is just a growing perspective. However, ChatGPT is a public model, right? So whatever you feed it, it's where it gets the information. Now we see a lot of enterprises or even financial customers start using AI. They do not want their information to be publicly available, which means that they start training private AI. Private AI is the future, is the new era. And a lot of times that people thought AI is all about NVIDIA. Well, NVIDIA stocks has gone crazy, right, for the last whole year. So Google has their own AI called Gemini now. Previously was Spark. Gemini 1.5 now. AI is so clever that you can even ask AI to write codes. We see many AI companies actually, startup especially, they don't really understand the power of using a private AI. Often people start AI through a cloud platform. Why? Because cloud platform actually offer you quite a lot of credits to really start to know about their products, and basically they're either stuck in there or they need to get a lot of funding to actually maintain it. Google actually provide, I think, $250K to $300K for a startup for people to play with an AI environment. Why these are important, right? Because the hybrid IT plays a big part. Whether you stack your different application architecture, different platform, networks is part of it. And we provide the ability to do that, whether it's via physical cross-connect or a virtual cross-connect via SDN network. Now, you see how we can enable an AI environment. We've seen this before from on-prem into a public cloud. They don't want any infrastructures on site, but realize that everything into public cloud can be very, very costly. And therefore, they start to see maybe they should do a little bit more hybrid. And we see like X has saved more than 60 million pounds a year just for moving some of the data from AWS into an on-prem in the data center environment. Firstly, it's much more secure, and it's also very easy to, utilizing your own on-prem storage rather than everything has to be on the cloud. Because everything on the cloud can be very It's free to upload that ingress, and the egress will cost a lot of money. Some company organizations strategically start to probably put everything on the cloud, thinking everything is a lot easier, it's really quick, but they never really think about data gravity issues. Data gravity is where the data has to be closest to the users so that the experience of the users will be a lot quicker. Such as if you open up an application on your phone, if the application is going to load really, take maybe 10, 20 seconds, you realize that it could be an internet problem, but actually it may not be. The server is quite far away. And now we see that early challenges with AI is basically on the cloud. We will be able to see the future AI is actually on a private environment. And we talk about 3 tiers of AI architecture, 3 pillars: data lake, training, and inference. They're all on a very, very different stage. So in the training model, we see there's a lot of accelerated demand to train a public model into a private model, such as if your company is provide a smart network, or maybe it's going to be a smart platform, where you have to train your data or products to be available for your platform to be able to share with your customers, which means it's not really, some data were not supposed to be public. So therefore, for example, banks with, I think NatWest using Cora, or Kara, some of the names of their AI bots, those are the information they train their models will then provide you information how to do, what to do next. So we see a lot more times where from training into an inference model, which is then a merchant model of that product, and now it's launched public to be able to access by the consumer. And now we see with inference, it requires private AI. Because as your data getting larger and larger, you do not want all your data to be everything on the cloud or everything into an environment that could be far away. So private AI with data centers is one of the things. But data centers is not just all data centers can do an AI stuff, because AI modeling for a rack, such as NVIDIA or any other HGX rack with Lenovo or Dell, could be starting from 18 kilowatts all the way to 120 kilowatts per rack. And some data centers actually has an older environment, older infrastructures, they would not be able to do that. But this is a new wave that is coming. We see a lot of demands. We see GPU as a service, no longer just CPU as a service. So you see whether NVIDIA is actually providing services via Google or via Microsoft and so on. Now, network plays a big part, because obviously the larger the data is, the more networking bandwidth capability, throughput is so important. So we see that where we are from Platform Digital, we provide cabinets, cross-connect, and enough power for you to interconnect, not just in a data center environment, but also globally. So you think about AI, I think most people think about AI, it's like, oh, it's a NVIDIA, or maybe a HPE, or maybe it's in the cloud. But actually, we see companies or organizations can actually buy a machine like that, a Z8 HPE, that costs maybe $5,000. Within 6 months, you already get your money back throughout your subscription model, but you actually buy this one off, and then you train your own AI, and slowly adding up all the NVIDIA cards by yourself. And then private AI actually should be made easier for other people. And private AI like this will cost you probably really cheap to host. It only uses about 1,000 watt of power supply versus 18 kilowatt power supply. And you know, when you train private AI models such as this, you'll be able to practice as much development as possible, and then put it into the cloud platform when needed, or host it on your own platform when it's needed. So we also help customers to be able to prevent data loss by having an architecture to be able to bring data from one data center to another locally. So basically, I'll talk a little bit more about the Metro Connect after these slides. So whether the data is going to store in a platform, or the data is going to store on their own on-prem, it all can be integrated via one ecosystem. Within London, we interconnect all our data centers using Metro Connect. Basically, to create an AI, we have to cleverly design where the data should be, or where the AI should be. So as I mentioned earlier, not all the data centers can actually manage high density. And even some they can, but being in a central location, it's like you being in Mayfair, you're paying a really, really expensive rent, right? Why would people want to be in the central London or maybe central location? It's because financial customers are there, they require a nanoseconds and really cross-connect within the campuses. However, you think about campuses between all that, it's actually less than 1 millisecond latency, 0.6 millisecond latency. We interconnect with managed wave, layer 1 services, and basically we'll be able to provide a redundant diverse route in case this one circuit get cut, the second one will take over, and we don't compete with our own network customers. We basically just allow customers to interconnect within the data centers by putting their compute into one location and high density compute into another locations. And by the way, we also want to announce that we acquired a data center in Slough, and now we're building a Metro Connect from Woking into Slough and Slough back to London, so we create a ring circuit itself. So Platform Digital, we talk about Platform Digital, right? Basically, Platform Digital is just an enabler. Whether you are a software provider, whether you're a security provider, network service providers, cloud service provider, we help customers to thrive within the environment. So we are the enablement. We provide something called Service Fabric. It's a software-defined network. I think it's very important. Most of you can hear about Megaport, and you got your own software-defined network as well. Well, our software-defined network products to help our customers to be able to go to market easily or provide services to our end customers from any way that they need it without being present in the same location. For example, if Links will provide IP peering into IX peering in London, and if a customer that is in, say, Germany, for example, Links may be there, but if they're not there, they will be able to do a remote peering via the Service Fabric port to their London equipment. Or vice versa, if you want to use that very same port to help your customers to connect privately into the cloud. We connect into more than 750 data centers globally, not just our own data centers, but also third-party Megaport-enabled data centers. And in this platform, we allow customers to provide a click-to-connect service, which means that you can have an NNI with us, you'll be able to connect and advertise your company products and services into the platform. Other customers within our ecosystem can click on you and then request a service to connect them. So with this, it will help you to future-proof the private AI for data exchange. It will enable you to interconnect to any other services that needed be. So for example, additional cybersecurity to be on the same environment without being in the same data center. So with this, we actually help other customers to be able to interconnect to. This is just some of the brand. Your brands could be there and many other brands. We've got more than 5,000 customers that are within our data centers environment. And we just want to help to enable customers to drive more business themselves. And we just an enabler rather than a competitor itself. So with that, we're also using tools for PDX visualizers. Basically, providers such as network providers share KMZ with us. We put that into our platform, and we can actually see which route from a data center perspective to go into from the data center building into a customer's location, or from the data centers, how we actually link the KMZ together. This is an example of a managed wave, the real managed wave KMZ that is actually on the screen here, and we're building additional here, and then we're building additional here as well. So, and this is just in London side, some of the providers that share their KMZ. We use the tools to help customers to understand, to zoom in into the location and see the very cable that goes into which point of entry system into our data centers. And then this is globally, we will be able to interconnect, well, provide latency for global locations from one to another using different submarine or terrestrial cables. And we use PDX modular to be able to actually capture customers' requirement. So when customers come to us, they talk about their strategy, what they're trying to do, what's the problem they're trying to solve, rather than how much power you need. My question is about what the customer's really trying to do, and we try our best to select the right data centers and then to right network to interconnect to one another to save costs and also to be able to capture everything to one place. So the last slide here, the key takeaway, right? I think SDN network is very important. As you see, go-to-market it's going to be a really quick way of doing that. Because, for example, if you got customers that ask you, hey, we want to go to Singapore, can we do it? You might say, if you got a company that is in Singapore, yeah, you probably have a backbone built, you can do it. However, if you're not, you probably say no bid or probably you can't do it. But with our platform, you'll be able to interconnect your data from your customers from London to Singapore in a matter of minutes. The data centers, we can help tackling constraint of high density requirement, and we can this platform allow you to connect to anyone, anywhere, in any time. I think that's all from my presentations.
You've nailed the timing. 1 second to spare. Well, you finished that. Hopefully that was good. Thank you very much indeed.